What's up, everybody? This is Molly Mullen reporting live from ShePodcasts in Atlanta, representing Heartcast Media, Podcast Outfitters, and a sprinkle of One Love Massive. I am sitting here today with, your name is covered up, Tanida. Tanida, tell us who you are, where are you from, what are you all about?
My name is Tanida Mullen, and I am from the Lone Star State. I'm from Texas, and I have a podcast called The Savvy Young Professional. That's why I'm here, to learn more and just figure out how I can make that situation even better. The Savvy Young Professional is pretty much a podcast to help young professionals step their game up. I don't believe that young professionals or millennials, whatever you want to tag, don't have talent or they are all the things that a lot of people say they are. I just believe that we need some resources to kind of like step us up a little bit.
Right.
But so that's what the podcast is there for. I interview people that have expertise in different areas, and we just kind of give ideas and tips and sometimes even take questions to help young professionals get it together.
That's amazing. So what inspired you to, want to get in the game? Like what lit that fire?
So I think for me, I have a training background, and at one point I was kind of in the people development space, which is what I think training is essentially. And I had a shift in my career. I was still in the hospitality industry, but I shifted more to the destination side. So a convention and visitors bureau is what I was work for. And I didn't get to do a lot of that training and that people development because my job, it just shifted. That's not what I did anymore. So the Savvy Young Professional was a way for me to really still provide that feedback to help to do that people development piece and help others kind of step their game up and learn and grow in their career, and talk about the things that I geek out over, like workplace stuff. I hate my boss, what should I do? That type of stuff gets me excited. So yeah, that's really why I started the podcast.
That's amazing. So how long have you been doing the podcast?
So I launched my first show in 2014.
Wow.
And I know everybody says, wow, but hold up. I launched my first show in 2014, and then I just kind of stepped away from it. And so recently I was asked to come to a podcasting event and do some work, and I got so inspired by the people there. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna recommit. So I'm at that stage right now where I'm just putting out content and just, trying to make sure that I'm consistent again.
That's amazing. I mean, I appreciate that you're helping entrepreneurs to find their lane, because it can be so overwhelming. You have to know all these things and do all these things, and you have to be the accountant, and you have to be the marketer, and you have to be the HR person, and you have to be the face of the business, and you have to, and it can be so overwhelming. And even just having somebody to check in with and realign and regroup, to really focus on what really matters and how to get that done. I think that's, so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, and not just entrepreneurs, but people who they might be climbing the corporate ladder, you know? And they're like, man, I want to be VP, or I see myself in a different position in 4 years, but how do I get there? I don't have a mentor. I don't know what to do.
Exactly. Well, that's not, there's no handbook.
There really isn't. And there's a lot of stuff in between that can get in the way of some of your career goals if you let it.
100%. So what did you think about ShePodcasts?
Oh, I enjoyed this event, and it was for so many reasons. I didn't really know what to expect. I've listened to Jess and Elsie. I know who they are. I actually won a ticket here from Podcast Movement. So that's how I even got here.
Okay. Were you there too?
I was at Podcast Movement.
I was there too. What? Are you going to DC Podfest?
I said, I've never even heard of DC
Girl,
Podfest.
It's November 1st and 2nd. You should come. I'm speaking.
Listen, I got some mouths to use now. I might have to come. But yeah, that event is so huge, right? So we were there. We both were there. Didn't even know.
Right.
And that's the big difference. I see this is it's a big event.
Yeah.
But it's an intimate space where the conversations are just a little bit different. And I think there's just a little bit more room for connection in a way that not as just like, hey, I met you, but like, hey, I met you and I really want to help you. And we're going to talk about how we can do that starting today.
Right.
And that's inspiring. It really is.
That's super cool. Well, I like to hear that. I've really enjoyed my time here at the convention, even though I've been kind of corralled to this booth. But this, setup here has brought so many amazing conversations and, just incredible women into the, into the chair so I can learn more about people. And it's been really inspiring to see, like, everyone's podcast is mission based in its own way, which is really cool. I think that's like a unique quality that women have, that we instinctively want to help other people.
Yeah, and what I see a lot, or what I'm seeing a lot, is if people have similar things going on, it's like, hey, how can we amplify each other?
Exactly.
And that's really what it's all about. So instead of it being like, it's not like, oh, you have that podcast, I do too, or there's so many of these podcasts. It's like, hey, the 10 of us all have this type of show, but how can we help each other out and amplify each other's voices? And so it's a different feeling than any events I've been to before.
I agree. And like, why can't we all win?
Like it's 7 billion people? People.
Right.
It's not enough podcasts to service the amount of people that can listen to them.
No. And then especially people binge listen to podcasts. So like if you have a 30-minute podcast, they could get through your whole first season in an afternoon at work, and then they need something else.
Exactly.
And somebody doesn't have to lose for you to win.
Exactly.
Right?
But yeah, absolutely. I think that's the case. I also think that there's like cycles, right? It's just like with any content, you might be watching someone for years or listening to their show for years, and you're just like, you know what? I'm ready to move on. And so just to know what else you can move on to, that's that similar taste.
Right.
That's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's been really nice chatting with you.
Thank
you for coming by the booth. If Podcast Outfitters or Heartcast Media can do anything to help you elevate and amplify your voice and your mission, please let me know. I would love to help with equipment or whatever it is that you need.
I've already been doing that. So many people have sent me to this booth. I can't remember the young lady's name, but she was a panelist, and I'll have to let you know when I look at her card. And I had a question about something she sent me over here. She said, go to this booth and make sure you ask your question. So already super helpful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been really cool to be able to talk to like lots of people, but in particular women, about gear. And like giving people some tips on how to, save themselves time so they can focus on the important stuff. And I just think it's really important because it's not always a woman behind the table explaining the gear.
It's
and I think that it matters.
Almost never.
Yeah.
And we can understand what, it's not like we don't get it.
It's not rocket science for crying out loud.
And you said
you
that.
Just need somebody to break it down to you,
Thank you. We appreciate you, and thank you so much, because I've learned so much by stopping by here a couple times.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to connecting with you some more. Please tell everybody where they can find your podcast and how they can support you.
Okay. If you have a podcast player that you listen to, you're going to search for The Savvy Young Professional with Tanida Mullen. All social is The Savvy YP. You can go to thesavvyYP.com, or if you just like to type, you can go to thesavvyyoungprofessional.com if you want to learn more about me, what I do, or if you have something to offer the show.
That's right, folks. So you heard it here, live from ShePodcasts. Show some love. Check out the podcast. Share it with your friends. And thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next one.